Christmas Day was rough at the box office. Holy, but we'll talk about those ramifications more than likely. I think tomorrow I'll have that one set up. But speaking about one movie in particular, well, it's about to become a video because it's going to be content for a streaming service. But The Lord of the Rings, The War of the Rohirrim. Now, you've talked about me despising this film for a very long time. I mean, it was admittedly pushed out by Warner Brothers as a means to retain the rights. But hell, if you're going to do something, did you have to do it so badly? Like, you could have done something. I understand, right? Like, if you just need to do something in the gap because it's been 10 years since you guys released something, and you have lofty aspirations of doing this, oh my god, Hunt for Gollum crap and dragging back everybody from your childhood just to besmirch it even further. I don't want it. I definitely don't want it. I would be shocked. I will be shocked. I will say it right now because I think it's scheduled for 26 or 27 release. I think that film, I think Hunt for Gollum and whatever its second part is going to be, I think they're going to be trash. Now, I would love to be wrong. I would love for ancient Viggo Mortensen to be digitally de-aged. I would love for Ian McKellen to still be alive in order to film it. For him to be much more of the Gandalf you remember from back in the cut and not so much like Christopher Lee during the Hobbit trilogy. As much as I love Christopher Lee, I mean, you could see that he was every single day of that 92 years of age he was when they were filming that. So I want them to be good. I bet they're going to be trash. Is it going to be as bad as Rings of Power? I don't know. Who knows? We might get season 3 by then, where we're going to have the fall of Eregion, the crafting, or I'm sorry, the fall of Numenor. We already had the fall of Eregion because it was so tremendous. But yeah, Numenor is going to sink into the sea. Sauron's going to get the one ring, and the Dark Wizard and Rune is going to be revealed to be new Saruman, even though the showrunners say that he's definitely not. It's like you guys also said that the stranger definitely wasn't Gandalf until he was called a great big grand elf, and he got his Gand from Tom Bombadil. Oh my god, they're so stupid, right? The reason that they're setting up Sauron right now, here's another thing that you can go ahead and put a pin in so you can reference at a later date. They're setting up Sauron right now for the same reason that they brought in Tom Bombadil. Amazon thinks that they're getting dunks on Warner Brothers by including the stuff that was taken out of the Lord of the Rings, Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings trilogy. So they brought in Tom Bombadil, and so they're bringing in Sauron right now so we can go ahead and scour the Proto Shire. You bet your bottom dollar on that. Either that, or he's going to try to take out the Harfoot caravan that was established in season 1 as an allusion to, oh, see, we did the scouring of the almost shires. See, that makes us better. We're more like Tolkien's lore because we included the stuff that Peter Jackson didn't. I hate this timeline. For as happy as I am that we did get that trilogy, did it have to come at the expense of every other entertainment property? Holy crap. But back to War of the Rohirrim here quick, okay? Because, yeah, as you can see, those box office numbers, not doing that well. Even though it only cost $30 million to make, it's like, I guess that's a good thing, but it still lost money, which is crazy to think about. Because even if you're being generous, right, the $30 million budget, 15, probably 16 million by the time that it's all said and done, break even? But when you're trying to do actual movie math with a little bit of production, you got to do 2.5 to 3. So no, what am I even talking about? It made less than half of its production budget. This thing is a disaster, bro. And you take a look at the numbers that we have right now, okay, and we still got projections for Christmas Day, 130,000. Oh, and it lost half of its screens. Oh, that's not good, but that's crazy though. It lost half of its screens, but it only did $55,000 less. That's crazy. That is absolutely crazy. And you take a look at, well, Rotten Tomatoes. I don't like to use this as a reference and that it's stupid, mostly because, well, that popcorn meter, man, taking away the audience score on this hasn't really ingratiated itself with an air of honesty. Because from the people that I've heard review it, and I've listened to a few reviews, and the plot is it's so stupid and nonsensical. It's basically, Hera's great, and then she's going to leave, go find Gandalf with an older lesbian. It's like, okay, that's kind of weird. Why did you turn Helm Hammerhand into an actual ghost instead of this big mythical creature? It's all very silly. But I look at that audience score and, bro, nobody's talking about this film, right? Like, you look at this and it's like 83%, and then from all our audiences, 74%. Like, I think the most praiseworthy aspect of this that I've heard is, actually, I haven't heard any praise for it. That's the difference, right? Like, just talked about Arcane. It's like, yeah, the animation's great. With this, I mean, we looked at the first 8 minutes, and you go back and look at that, the animation is ass. ass. It is terrible, choppy, low frame rate shit that doesn't look too dissimilar to what you have seen on Cartoon Network back in the late 90s. There's Dragon Ball episodes, and Dragon Ball, especially some, Cell Saga and Buu Saga, Dragon Ball Z, that looks 10 times better than that. It looks like some of the worst early days of like Sailor Moon. It's bad. It's really bad. I guess some of the voice acting is fine, like Brian Cox as Helm Hammerhand, like that's good, but outside of that, the plot makes no sense, and the characters are stupid, turning Wolf, the king of the Dundalins, into an incel. It's like, well, that's a really bold move that you're making, and it looks like it hasn't panned out, because for the first time in a long time, you look at the critic response, and it's like, yeah, that seems more on par with what everybody else is actually echoing. And yeah, you got top critics at 30%, all critics at 46%, but yeah, overall rotten. That is actually far more applicable to what we're seeing out here. And well, because of the incredibly poor response at the theaters, and that's just kind of in general what we've been seeing during this season, Lord of the Rings, The War of the Rohirrim, heading to homes after 14-day theatrical window. Yeah, I don't think that was the plan at all. Well, that was fast. New Line Cinema's anime feature, Lord of the Rings, The War of the Rohirrim, which opened on December 13th to a very low $4.5 million. Yo, Craven wins again. Will be available on digital in-home on the 27th. Bro, but you're seeing this today. You can go watch this abomination. I've got a morbid curiosity to it. Mostly because, yeah, from the reviews that I heard, while they weren't glowing at all whatsoever, the best thing that I heard, second monitor content, and even that's pushing it, because I'm such a big fan of the Peter Jackson trilogy. But now that I say that, it's probably about that time where I should probably crack open the 4Ks and just watch those again over New Year's. But anyways, War of the Rohirrim will be available on all participating digital platforms, including Prime, Apple TV, Fandango. Wait, it's going to be on Prime, huh? That's interesting. I'm wondering. I'm desperately wondering if it's going to end up performing better than Rings of Power. That'll be interesting to see. Perhaps we'll do a follow-up on that in the new year when there's numbers available. That would be funny. No, that just because the movie is available at home doesn't mean that it won't continue to play in theaters. But yeah, we're seeing a drop off precipitously right now. It's got 1,300 screens. Probably over the weekend is, I don't know if there's anything new that's debuting. I mostly think that what we're seeing right now is the slate that we're going to be getting through the end of the year, and well, it's been rather unimpressive. But like I said, more on that tomorrow. The $30 million animated production fell 72% in its second weekend with a $1.25 million for a $7.3 million running total. And yeah, as we go back to the numbers here, you take a look at the top, and it's like, it's actually a fairly, well, it's a bang on equal distribution between the domestic and the international numbers. And well, I guess that's one thing that it has going for it. But yeah, the big drop off and the lackadaisical start does not help this at all whatsoever. Warner greenlit the movie before Michael DeLuca and Pam Abdi took control of the motion picture studio to keep the rights alive with Lord of the Rings Holder Embracer Group. Boo! Lord of the Rings feature needed to be made every so many years. The being 10 years ago, the third part of The Hobbit, The Battle of the Five Armies, which is, oh boy, it's better than War of the Rohirrim, but still doesn't mean that it's good. Like if Rohirrim's a 3, Battle of the Five Armies might get to a 5, or I might get to a 4 rather. The 6, yes, Lord of the Rings and Hobbit movies combined have grossed $6 billion, won 17 Oscars for New Line. Yeah, but the Peter Jackson trilogy, yeah, it got robbed. It should have won Best Picture every 3 years. Like, I mean, Two Towers lost out to Chicago. Fuck, that still pisses me off. The first of the 2 Lord of the Rings films at Warner. Oh yeah, working title, yes, The Hunt for Gollum. Are in the works with Andy Serkis starring and directing, which, okay, yeah, it's like, it's Gollum, it's Andy Serkis, you got my attention, but then he's directing. This is also the same guy who directed the Venom trilogy. So, Fran Walsh and Philippa Boyens, yes, both devout feminists, so whatever that means, are writing along with Phoebe Gittins. Shit, so we got 3 women in the writer's room, huh? It seems to be about the exact same makeup that we just had for War of the Rohirrim. You know, a story that needed to be told because sometimes the best stories are those that are untold, and that we were really drawn to this unnamed character because there was just so much untapped potential. And War of the Rohirrim was actually adapting more canonical material from the appendices than there is actual material for The Hunt for Gollum, as it's just a couple of paragraphs in Fellowship. Like, Oh, Jesus Christ. Is it in Fellowship or is it in Return of the King? I think it's in Fellowship. Anyways, original Hobbit and Lord of the Rings filmmaker Peter Jackson is producing. Yeah, because he's in charge of the Lord of the Rings universe that Warner Brothers is trying to build out. I want to die. War of the Rohirrim is set, 183 years after anybody gave a shit about this stupid project, because now people are, well, they're just grasping at straws on this one. It's time to admit Lord of the Rings War of the Rohirrim failed at being an anime. No, there's plenty of bad anime that's out there, and that's something else, okay? Random Film Talk, tremendous YouTuber. Go watch his videos. He's amazing at breaking this stuff down, specifically, the bastardization of Tolkien stuff. Yes, he was on a stream and somebody mentioned, it's like, yeah, I've watched a bunch of anime before, and this is just bad anime. Like, yeah, it looks the part, and there was no reason that it had to be this bad. Like an animated Lord of the Rings story, like there's a lot of stuff that they could adapt. Like if there were any actually creative people that were there that wanted to pay homage to the source material and do a good job to it, there's some stuff that honestly would have to either be heavily CGI'd or simply animated in order for it to make sense from the first age, and it would be fantastic. Hell, to properly do a lot of the second age stuff, probably animated as well, and then just, hopping over to a different property, the Song and Ice and Fire stuff, like with all of the fantastical elements there, doing an animated take on that, I mean, that would probably do the best for the material, but there's no reason this had to suck. They just wrote it incredibly poorly. I don't know what else to say. Lord of the Rings, War of the Rohirrim was something of a creative curiosity to fans. On paper, it seemed like something that might appeal to both Middle-earth enthusiasts and anime aficionados, thus giving it prime potential to be a box office hit in the holiday season. After many fans, the Tolkien's Legendarium felt let down by Amazon's Rings of Power. Whoa, this is CBR talking about this? Weren't you guys, puffing up the first and second seasons? Come on now. Hearing of Peter Jackson's return to Middle-earth became something to look forward to. Unfortunately, the movie's financial stockings have been stuffed with coal, and it's more than obvious why. Yes, beyond the struggles as an adaptation of Tolkien's works and its mixed reception, War of the Rohirrim fell short as a proper anime film despite a sizable budget. Yeah, $30 million, like in today's bloated economy, it seems relatively small, but for an animated feature, like that's more than enough. And when you don't spend it on writing, I mean, that's far and away a big enough budget. Lacked the visual finesse and dynamic energy characteristics of most anime, making its flaws even more glaring. Yep, the animation felt uninspired and unrefined, undermining any attempt at immersing the audience in Middle-earth. I heard something. I can't verify this and I couldn't find a source for it, but there were dozens. I heard 60, but at least a dozen contracted studios that come in and piecemeal together this animation, leading it to look as awful as it does. Ultimately, the film came across as a half-hearted effort by Warner Brothers Discovery, more focused on retaining film rights and cashing in on the anime's rising popularity. Yes, than anything a worthy addition of the beloved fans. Yeah, exactly, because if you just needed to release something to retain the rights, you didn't have to do something that would ultimately damage the brand. Rings of Power has already done more than enough to that. And now we're living in a time where franchises, I mean, is there a single prominent franchise out there that has more good content in it as opposed to bad? Like, you can't say that was Star Wars. At this point in time, can you say it about Marvel? Lord of the Rings? I think on a balance now, because you used to be able to get away with saying the Hobbit movies were fine, I guess. Now you got 2 seasons of Rings of Power and this pile of shit. It's tough. It's tough. They're looking at big Western-centric franchises. I have to add that caveat because there's other stuff out in the East that's just, faring a lot better. But the West could be equally thriving. There's plenty of money going around. It's just none of it's landing in the writer's room, and it's not given to competent, qualified people that give a shit about the source material. It's given to greedy retards that just want to kick the can down the road so that they can go ahead and tease the next project, not understanding that when you release bad stuff like this over and over again, there's going to be fewer and fewer people wanting to check out that next release. So with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.